Welcome, everyone, to the Two Brothers Fishin Podcast right here on Hickman Outdoors YouTube channel, presented by American Legacy Fishing Company. World-class fishing gear, unmatched personal service. That's right, we're paying a little attention to our main sponsor of Hickman Outdoors. And before we get to tonight's special guest, who's just finishing up some work and will be joining us in a moment, let me take a moment to tell everyone this is the time, if you haven't yet, to join the American Legacy Fishing Elite Program. It's $50 to sign up for your first year. You get $25 in legacy rewards right back to your account. 10% back on all orders and legacy rewards, free shipping, access to exclusive Facebook group, and sales. That's also get you in on the monthly Mega Bass order. American Legacy Fishing also has the best trade-in program and most extensive collection of used gear you can find online. I remember that because that first Stratic CI4 that brought me really made me a customer in life of American Legacy Fishing. So don't forget, if you're in Evansville, Indiana, stop by and check out the newly remodeled showroom. And with that out of the way, Jeremy, what's up there, homeboy?
Ready to go fishing.
Ready to go fishing. Yeah, I know.
Fans in there.
Dude, I tell you what, since we got back from the KBF event, I have stayed up way too late watching baseball playoffs because, it's playoff time. And then last night, when I finally wanted to go to bed early, I had to crawl under your house and blow out the damn sewer line. And then I went and crashed to go to bed just in time so that we can get back home after work tonight, do it live with a special guest. And then tomorrow we can both go hit the water and chase some big fish before we head back south to Guntersville. Now, I know we have a lot of people in the live tonight who are going to be heading to Guntersville again next weekend, if they haven't been already, for the Kayak Bass Fishing Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series. We got the fan fish off, and Jeremy's going to be dropping in and out. Something's going on in his apartment complex where his internet has been going nuts. He's rebooted a couple times, and he'll join us the best he can. But there's a lot of people tuning in tonight that's on one of the teams, either Team Gramps, who's going to go down and smoke Team Chad, Team Fluke Master, both the Burley Boys, Wendell Fishing, Bearded Dad, amongst all of the extra tournaments they had, or the extra teams that are coming in. One of those is going to be anchored by Alex Miller. So if you're fishing and you haven't got your way into a team yet, you've still got a week left to go throw up some fish on that last October event to get qualified for the Hero Cup. And the last chance, if you haven't done knucklehead bass fishing at all, go to the KBF, go to Knucklehead. You put 5 fish on the board from your home state before the end of the month, you qualify to come to the Dakota Lithium, I think it is. I think they're the one sponsoring it. The Van Fishing Fish Off, or 5 more. That'll be the final team that jumps in the Hero Cup to fight for that $10,000 payout. Now, see, our special guest tonight might be like, I can go throw some fish up in there real quick and team up with Alex Miller and Lynn Yester and probably put the smack down on all of us. But I don't know what he's got going on. But speaking of him, let's bring in the man, the myth, the legend. Everybody's calling him the GOAT of kayak bass fishing. That came from Zaldine's podcast, so it's hard to argue with that when you're on a dude who is on such a run for those seems like the last several years. Russ, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Now, I'm not saying that Jeremy and I are kind of like good luck charms, but I think the first time we met was after the KBFNC last year. It was the first time we ever met.
Yeah.
And, we were all just fan gazing and, we fished the event and made the top 100 and it was awesome. But of course, being able to just talk to guys like you and Christine and Guillermo and Chad and Gene, all the big names in kayak bass fishing, it was really cool. And, you went on, you won that event. And then we ran into you again at the Classic. Bang. I remember, before you got up on the big stage, I was like, did you get your limit? Just gave us a smile and we knew. Next thing we know, you're up there.
That was all I got. 5 fish all day. That was a nail biter, that one.
Next thing we know, you're standing up on the big stage, holding up the big magic trophy. And then again, this year, another great run. I mean, we just watched you come in second at Susquehanna, which honestly sealed the deal for your 2023 Bassmaster Kayak Fishing Series AOY title, which is huge. Again, obviously qualified for the classic coming up in, I know we call it the classic. It's hard not to, but
Yeah,
they call it something more, lined up with whatever Bassmaster gave him, but
around
still
10 killer, yeah, in Oklahoma next year.
I
I'm
mean,
looking forward
and
to that
so
one.
going down there, that's going to be fun because Jeremy and I have made it a point. We're going to go to every classic that's within, a day's drive. So how could we not, especially now that they got kayak fishing tied into it as well.
Totally.
And then you come back here and put up an awesome race in the Trail Series event to qualify for KBF's the 10. And then go on a lake that nobody's fished, I don't think any of the 10 had fished it
I
before.
think Jordan Marshall had been there a few times.
Oh yeah. So, there was one person who kind of knew it, but dude, I ain't gonna lie. So Jeremy and I were fishing in the big bass event, with the rest of us out there, keep us entertained, but we're all watching the leaderboard and we see Casey and Mike Elsey, who's from here in Indiana. Back and forth all day, and I was literally shocked, but I was like, when he called your name up there with the top 3, I'm like, Russ is up there?
I got that last.
I looked at Jeremy. I looked at Jeremy and I said, watch. I told Jeremy, I smacked him on the shoulder. I said, watch. And lo and behold, out of left field, Rus Synders up there holding up the big trophy again, man. How did that feel? That had to be something.
It felt great. It really was. And I had no expectations really going into that tournament and didn't even know, even if I got a good finish at Gunnersville at the Trail Series Championship, if I was even going to be able to qualify for the 10. So the fact that, I got a 3rd place at Gunnersville and it snuck me up there to 8th place. So a few of the top people that were in the standings had a rough tournament. And I was able to sneak in there and went to a new lake. I figured everybody would pick. I was the only one that picked Gunnersville or Wheeler to stay on. Everybody else wanted to go.
They figured they were going to keep Russ at bay by going somewhere else.
Yeah, it's a different lake there. It's a lot different than Gunnersville or Wheeler. It was, it was 125 feet deep. It's, in a canyon. They dammed it up. Small lake. I think 800 acres. You can go back from the dam. You can go about 5 miles up the lake. It eventually turns into a river. There's a few little pockets and small little creek arms and stuff, little ones, but no grass, no nothing like that. The water was a little more stained than it typically is just because they're drawing down the lake, which might have helped me a lot. I heard it's really clear and it had a good stain to it. You could still see a few feet down, but I heard that it probably hurt the live scope bite a little bit. And I don't know if we really showed that lake's true potential because there's so much offshore structure and stuff like that. And I saw an 8 or a 6 pounder caught, right in front of me. So I know there's some big fish in there. And and I didn't catch any big ones. I caught all just 18 inches. All the fish I got were in between 18 and 18 and a half inches. Got up some of them throwing a buzz bait. It was really just junk fishing, just covering water with a buzz bait in the morning. And the sun started coming up. I was able to see a little creek arm with a couple laydowns in it. So I went flipping those laydowns. Just really, there's only a few of them. So I really had to pick them apart and just slow down, make the most of each piece of wood that was in the water. But got a couple more doing that. And then I came across a channel swing bank. I had some deeper water, some rock on it, and I saw some wood down about 15, 20 feet of water. So I just slowed down. I sat right there in that 50-yard stretch. There's maybe 3 pieces of wood down there and some nice chunk rock and stuff, and just drug a jig around 15, 20 feet of water and caught a few more 18s, and just enough for me to sneak by Mike Elsey, I think by half an inch or so. And
I think you were up by half or quarter inch, 3/4 inch. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Couldn't believe it. I was pretty shocked, actually. I didn't think I was going to be able
it was
to pull
out of
that
left field, but I was like, there's Russ, and if there's Russ, there's a chance.
Well, I really enjoyed
needless to say, you become a fan favorite of Jeremy and I too, because it seems like every time we run into you, even though I blamed you for rolling my own damn ankle. So for those who don't know, poor Russ walks up to check his boards, and Jeremy and I are checking the boards at checking the first day, and he had jacked his ankle up something fierce, and he had it all wrapped up and was telling us about it. And I swear to God, not 5 minutes after that, we go to the captain's meeting. I step in one of these like 3 empty brick holes between the tables and the captain's meeting, and just like flop. And then I heard Lynn Yester did the same thing. I was like, it's Russ's fault.
It's the curse of Russ's sprained ankle. Well, I got miles going on a run by my house. It was a couple miles. Just started my run from my house. It's a couple miles down the road, and tried kicking a walnut. There's the walnuts and the green.
Oh yeah,
the little green balls, and I saw him like, I'm gonna kick the thing. Tried kicking it with the outside of my foot. My pinky edge, caught the concrete, and I just rolled it right there and just ate shit on the concrete. So yeah, it swelled up pretty good, but luckily I'm able to. I hope yours is doing all right. I'm able to.
Oh yeah, I was. After the next, I iced it overnight, and lucky for me, I'm in Old Town. So once I get in there, I'm squared away. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not dragging the yak anywhere. I'm playing, bigger waters as much as possible, sitting on my butt. You know how it goes.
Yeah, I felt like
it's not like I'm going to be standing and casting and all that, even though I can. I don't, but
Yeah.
So
it happened a couple days before the tournament. So really being in that kayak at that period really was probably the best, most rest I really
best therapy that you can get.
Yeah, I'm not
get
gonna
off
just
of it.
sit around the house or whatever with my foot up. I know that. But
so most of the folks in the chat tonight, the folks that follow the Hickman Outdoors, formerly Fishing with Gramps channel, but those have joined us and beginning their fishing adventures and venturing into kayaks over the last couple of years, because that's really what we focus on is the the recreational side, even though we like to come fish the big derbs. And I'd like to expand a little next year myself and maybe do a trail event, and then maybe do a Bassmaster event. I'm gonna drag Chad to the Bassmaster event at Gunnersville, I think. But we really focus a lot on recreational and getting veterans and just, new anglers into kayaks is kind of what, our goal is. And of course, having guys like you on to talk and, have people pick their brains, it's always a huge thing, because we could teach the basics, but, for more advanced techniques or even, critical thinking during tournaments, things like that too. It's always awesome to be able to pick the brains of you guys who really travel around and do this, quite often. So, while everybody here is excited that you won the 10, I'm guaranteeing you most of them are looking for some juice on Gunnersville, because it'll be their first time to being at a place like that. Jeremy and I, the funny thing is, we literally went down to fish the championships to pre-fish for the knucklehead thing, because we don't have any time on the water. So we're blessed to be able to, to go out and fish those. And we squeak in the qualifications just enough to get there, but it's cool because then you get to spend time on the water, time on the water with pros. And then, and especially lakes where, any cast, you could be catching your PB. In Indiana, we have some decent fish, but you travel around to these big fisheries, you can catch a giant, just anybody at any time. So lots of, tell us, if you would, break down Gunnersville a little bit, and, not just from this last event, but things that you've noticed for people who may be coming from fishing, smaller rivers or, lakes or strip pits and creeks, the stuff that you like to get into, but it's a little bit bigger body of water. Kind of give some advice, if you don't mind, on, folks that might come down a day or two and pre-fish before, if you have any advice for things they should be looking for, baits to start out with, things like that.
All right. Yeah. Well, Gunnersville, when I think of Gunnersville, I think of grass. There's a lot of grass, a lot of vegetation. It's one of the few of the TVA lakes that the water, they don't have a winter and summer pool. Some of the lakes, like Chickamauga and Kentucky Lake and Pickwick, there'll be summer pool where it's all the way up to the trees, and then winter pool where they drop at about 6 feet. And Gunnersville does fluctuate a little, but it's only maybe 2 feet, and it'll just go up and down whatever time of year, just depending on how much rain and stuff is there. But the water is a little bit low, like a couple feet low, but there's still a ton of vegetation, a ton of grass everywhere. And the bass it's that fall transition. You could catch them literally anywhere from the main river to the backs of creeks. To this time of year, it's they're more and more fish are starting to move to the backs of the creeks probably, but there's fish anywhere you go. There's going to be fish. And the one thing that my game plan going into this tournament, while I was out there, anytime really when I'm around fishing a lake with a lot of grass, I really try to avoid those areas where there's just giant mats, which just like endless grass flats of just like grass everywhere. There's too much. I don't like it. It's just too hard to. I mean, you can catch them in that stuff, and they're in that stuff, but it's just too hard. It takes too much time. It's too hard to recognize like just those ambush points or those areas where they're going to feed at. And you can throw a frog through all those big giant grass mats, and you will find little sweet sections, and you can win it in areas like that. But for me, I just like it when the spots are whether the feeding areas or the ambush points, the areas you're going to catch the fish. I like it when it's just a little more obvious. So I try to fish areas that have grass, but only maybe a little bit of grass.
Yeah.
The area that I was fishing was the back of a creek, and there's a little bit of eel grass there. And there was one little hydrilla flat too that only had about a foot or two of water on it, but not a whole lot of vegetation back in that area. And there's certain parts of the lake where it's like that, where some areas are choked off more. A lot of it has to do with where they spray, or just some areas it's just kind of like, if you go up the river, that's another way, there's only grass like on the edges. If you get up far enough, it gets too deep too quick. So you're only going to have grass on the edges. So that's, an area sometimes I focus on up there, but I really, just try to get away from those big expansive grass flats. And
right.
The area where we were at, there was a bunch of docks, and I said a little bit of grass, but there was some gizzard shad and some bluegill back there, and some big fish, and there was some stained water too. That's another thing that I really wanted to find. The first day I spent pre-fishing. The water was really clear, and and I was moving around a lot. I was out on the main river, and then I went back into a little creek, and then it kind of got dirtier and dirtier, and I finally found some pretty stained water, and I caught a few. And then when I went back farther, it got really clear again in that creek water. But if you find those areas, before you get way back, maybe 3/4 of the way back, it seems, in some of the creeks is where some more of the stained water is, depending on which creek. Some creek, not all of them are going to be the same, but yeah, I was trying to find those areas where it had stained water and it wasn't overgrown with grass. And there I ended up fishing in the tournament. I only had about a half day left. I only had 2 days to pre-fish. So after my second day of pre-fishing out in that clear water again, I was like, I need to get out of this clear water and find some stained water. And I spent some time thinking, and went to an area where I had that last, half of my last day of my pre-fish, that second half of the day there. Checked out a spot I've never been before, but it kind of had everything that I was wanting to, that I was looking for, and it ended up paying off. There was a few other competitors there. I think I was sharing it.
So
with
who was
other
surrounding
guys.
you? Because I guess you might have been sharing.
Garrett Wade, who got second. Okay. Casey Reed, who he caught fish back there. He just couldn't get into the bigger ones, and it was not easy to catch. I definitely had a little luck. I had a little flurry where I really got all my big fish that first day in about 40 minutes. And besides that, like, I didn't have much at all. So, but Garrett Wade, Casey Reed, and Justin Fairchild, who had a very good first day. He probably caught the most fish back there. He had, I think, 88, 89 inches. He just couldn't get into any really big ones. And then the second day, he struggled. He only caught 3 fish, but he went back out in that big bass challenge, and he won the thing right there, and said he had 98 inches that day, and said he had like his 3 biggest ones, bigger than the one that won the big bass challenge. He lost 3 fish bigger than that. So he would have had.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure everybody's watching Garrett
ridiculous.
Wade's video, just like with binoculars, like, where is he at? I see docks,
you'll probably
But
be
I mean,
able to find out.
that's part of the game too. So
yeah.
but it's
That's
cool
why I don't
seeing
make
the
YouTube videos.
It's cool seeing the videos with the different perspectives, because
Yeah.
he was on a very similar pattern that I came on, and like you said, when the wind came up, that's when the water in the area where we were at, especially on day 2, really picked up. And like he said, during the Big Bass Challenge, that's I put up more inches then than in the 2 days prior.
Really?
You know, I just didn't have that luck on day 1 to get the 5th in the boat, but still ended up 26th overall in the challenge series, which I was happy with. And you know, with a good limit on Friday, but that's when I literally caught my 20 and a half the exact same way Garrett caught like his big bass off the end of a dock.
Cool.
Just buzzing right by it when the sun was up. So it was a lesson learned too. So for those watching, I know the chatterbait, jackhammer, whatever bladed jig, you know, people throw seemed to be the most prevalent bait that people were catching them, whether they were in 2 feet or dragging them in 15 foot of water. It just seemed to be the juice for a lot of folks too. When you're fishing in that, you know, the first day when the water is a little more clear, are you going with more of a shad pattern kind of color? And then if it stains up, you go to like a darker, or what's your thought process there for picking moving baits and things like that?
Yeah, more of a shad, more transparent if the water is clear, and then more like solid colors if the water gets stained, or depending on the sun or the clouds and stuff too.
Yeah.
But I didn't get any on a jackhammer or chatterbait. I got mine on a mag fatty worm and on a mag draft.
I was reading your Instagram post today, and I was like, if people are paying attention, they got some juice here. So,
mag draft treated me well this year.
So with the mag draft, now I was curious too, because you list out what rod you use.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people who make swim bait rods, they really don't make them for people who are in kayaks, because they add a handle that's like 18 inches long.
Yeah.
What do you like to use for throwing those bigger? Because I don't know if you throw glide bait and things like that too.
Yeah, no, I use the same rod. I don't. I know with the kayak you got to like move it around your body a little bit more. But I'm just used to it, I guess. But I don't. You need to have that longer
handle then.
Yeah, otherwise the balance point. Otherwise it gets too tip heavy and stuff too, and you need that longer handle just for leverage on those bigger baits and to get better hook sets too. So I just use traditional swim bait rods, but iRod, company, I'm sponsored by them, and they make more swim bait rods than any manufacturer out there. I don't know how many. They probably have at least 8, if not like 10 or 11 or 12 different swim bait rods. But when I was throwing, which I love,
American Legacy to start carrying those, then
they got all kinds of swim bait rods. But the one I was throwing, it's probably one of my favorite rods of theirs. It's just the Junior Swim. It's perfect for like those 5 to 7 inch swim baits, which is typically what I throw the most in tournaments. I'll throw some bigger swim baits too, but when it comes to tournament time, usually whether it's glide baits or baits like the mag draft or top water, it'll throw all those baits that are in that like 1 to 2 ounce, 5 to 7 inch range.
All right. When you're throwing a mag draft, do you let the grass, you fish in grass edges, or are you more reserving that for like rip?
I was just skipping it under the docks. I was just bumping it into all the pilings and stuff. I was fishing around the grass. I didn't get a lot of fish in the grass, like a couple little ones, but I think that having that a little bit of grass out there in the middle nearby was key, just to hold the bait and stuff like that. And the fish were probably in it at certain points, but I don't think any of us got them back there. There's some pads too, and I got a few small fish in the pads. I got a couple big ones in those pads pre-fishing, but they didn't seem to be in there in the tournament.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the weird thing was, we were playing some with the docks, but probably should have focused more on the afternoon. But it seemed like in the area that we were fishing, when the wind kicked up, if the wind was blowing into a riprap bank along a bridge or like this canal I was kind of fishing, man, they were smoking everything.
Right.
But
yeah,
I'm really going to be focused, this time too, because it's like I knew about the docks day 1, and I knew I should have gone back into it, especially under. My brother's like, bro, I put you in a spot with docks because you love skipping jigs and Senkos and flukes and all the things. And I didn't pay any attention to it on the day I really should have. And then day 2 was more of we'll hit the grass edges. We'll hit the, for us, a lot of the stuff was coming around bridges along the riprap or along, the ends of the bridges, where the underpass is, things like that. But then we kind of got into that dock thing late in the game. And then it was like, damn it, why didn't we think of this? But you know how it is. You're just, you're trying to figure out where they're at, what they're doing, and what stage they are in the lake. It seems like sometimes, but hell, with Jeremy knocking out a nice 20 3/4 for a big bass check, and you can't complain about that. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
So anytime you can cash a check of any kind, hey, it's always good. But it's good for bragging rights too, because after having a ho-hum tournament, he was happy just to get a hold of a tank, and it kind of unlocked some things for us too, because with the Hero Cup that we have coming up on Veterans Day down there, it's all 5 teammates contribute 1 bass. So we're all going to be throwing, it's not trying to find dinks to fill a limit. It's swinging for the fences
one big
every cast. So this should be kind of fun too. So
sounds like
I never realized that somebody put up a 22-inch smallie.
Jim Ware, Alabama rig. That thing was not.
I'm like,
skinny.
Holy cow!
It was close. I don't know if it was 7 pounds, but it was close. It was super fat. It was way over
Chad
6.
Said if he would have got that weighed, it might have been a state record.
You think? No. Well, state record. Oh, it's in Alabama. That's right.
So that's in Alabama. So I think he thought if they would have caught that. Because I was on the phone with Chad today and I asked him about it. He said that same dude is going back out in the same place today to try to catch it again.
No kidding. What's the Alabama state record?
I have no idea, but it'd be cool if somebody caught one down there while we're doing all this. So
yeah, that fish was, if I had to guess, it's like right at 7 pounds. It looked like. I saw a lot of videos and pictures of it. It was super fat and 22, and I mean it was pushing 7.
Take stuff like that too. So let's back up a little bit. You were on the Susquehanna not too long ago chasing. Now, let me be fair and ask. If you could only fish for one, largemouth or smallmouth?
Smallmouth. Yeah, river smallmouth.
It's so funny because
Susquehanna, if I only had one place to fish, I don't know, that might be the spot. I love it. That place is so much fun.
Well, we did, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I did post up a poll today on Facebook and said, if you got questions for Russ, ask him here and I'll ask it. So I'm going to find that one that lines up with what you just basically said. And our friend, Mr. Army Outdoors, Ralph Boyd, Master Sergeant, stationed out in Fort Irwin, California now, but he used to be stationed closer to us, and we would hang out quite a bit. His question for you is, what is your dream lake / river that you want to fish for fun? And then same question for tournament settings. So what are your 2 favorite, I'll say, rivers or lakes for fun and for tournaments?
I mean, my bucket list, area or place would probably be, I've always said, the Amazon for peacock bass. I've never done that before. It looks awesome. It just looks like such a wild place, and I'm always up for an adventure, and that seems like that'd be a good one. So
yeah, those peacock bass, man, I've seen some videos. It just seems like the wildest ride that you could ever get on too. So for a tournament setting, what's your favorite tournament
too? If I had a favorite tournament, probably the Susquehanna, I would say. After fishing it, I've been there a couple times. I loved it the first time around too. I didn't do as well. Some of the conditions changed and whatnot, but yeah, it worked out well this last time, and yeah, it was fun.
It's cool. Dude, I love it when Jeff follows you around.
Oh, me too.
I mean, just from the national championship last year and into the stuff that he's done this year, just following folks around too.
Drew and stuff, and just all the work. That puts a lot of hard work in to help promote the sport.
But it's such a cool way to promote what we do and show how fun it really is and can be. I mean, it's like, he's truly capturing the spirit and the adventure of it, because it's not always based around tournaments or things like that. Just sometimes the pursuit of those big fish is just he does a phenomenal job. So
well, hopefully he can do it next year. I don't know. A few people were upset about that.
Yeah. It's like, and I hate that I'm even saying this, but it's like, I remember reading some garbage somewhere, a bunch of Karens crying about, put some this and that and this. And then when Jeff basically follows you around with all the pre-fishing and then the derb itself and just shows the whole picture.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how you do it. You go
you promote the sport, and that's how. Yeah, it does such a great job.
100%. Yep, 100%. And it's and that's why I love seeing folks, like Jeff awarded last year's KBF Sportsman of the Year, and then another great ambassador, Christine Fisher, this year. I'm not going to say who nominated her, but I know who nominated her. For,
awesome, very well deserved,
mean,
both of them for sure.
And it's just it's cool when we have ambassadors like you guys out there to really promote the sport and show what it's all about, because a lot of people they get intimidated, they hear tournaments and this and that. Man, I'm telling you, if me and Jeremy and Matt can go do it, anybody, you guys, you start out with the KBF monthly challenges or the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series, and work your way up into these these championships, and don't be intimidated by being in a championship. Just go fish, because it exposed you to so many cool folks. I mean, if we hadn't done that, we'd have never met Russ in person, and all the other cool folks that we're blessed to be able to have come on these live streams and just talk to us regular folks who love to go fish after work and on the weekends, but getting to hang out with cool people too. I mean, it's truly a blessing. So don't ever be afraid to come show up at something like that, even if you just want to walk around and see the folks there, even if you're not fishing in it, because I tell you what, the kayak community is so awesome. They will anybody will talk to anybody, and you'll just, it's truly a pleasure just to be able to get out and get amongst these folks too.
Yeah, I totally agree. Grassroots clubs and stuff, different. I know I started fishing in a KBF TN, just a local club, and that's a good way, as well as the monthly challenges and stuff like that. But there's so many local clubs, and most of them are affiliated with KBF, and it's one way of making it into the national championship as well.
Because KBF's a good start, bass, because with us, we have Grassroots Bass Yakin, which is, our local grubby tournament series where we have like 18 tournaments on, I can't know how many different lakes and 5 different river systems and things like that. And then we have, more, other clubs like SIAC here in Indiana that just, it's a great way to get started and just to get your feet wet if you don't want to do the whole online thing too. So it's cool. But with Bass Nation, chapters hopping up around all of the country, you may not have one in your state, but there's probably one close to you. And, a lot of the times even the big events that they put on, they might do 1 or 2 that are within decent driving, range. So like my first ever will probably be on Gunnersville, in May, because that's my birthday. And I already told my wife I'm going to go fish a bass event, just because I've been a lifelong bass member forever. And, don't care how I do. I just want to go be part of the program. It'd be really cool too. But yeah, between KBF, Hobie, BOS, and all that, if you guys ever have questions, you can always drop comments on these lives or on any videos that we do, because this is the stuff we talk about because it's super fun too.
Yeah, and don't forget Drew's new series, the Adventure Kayak Series.
I'm actually going to have Drew.
Sure.
I'm actually going to have Drew following you. You bumped him because you just won.
He'll be on the next.
No, his wife was ill, so I had to reschedule for him before last week. So I happened to see you and catch you and say, "Hey, hop in with the live with me when we get home." And but I'm gonna have Drew coming up to talk about his adventure series as well, which to me is going to be another one of those things. It's like the pinnacle of what we as bass anglers like to do for people who like to go camp, who like to fish, who like to hang out in kayaks, and then have more than just a tournament, wrapped up in one thing too. So that's really going to be a fun thing too. So I can't wait for that.
Awesome. Yeah, me as well. I'm definitely going to fish a few of those.
All right. So another question that we had for you was from our friend Sly Fox. It's very simple. What bait do you catch the most bass with?
Swim jig. Either that or like flipping plastic or something like that. Some kind of jig. Flipping jig or swim jig. One of those, I'd say.
That's what I always tell everybody, a jig, because it's either bladed, swimming, or flipping.
If you include a bladed jig, that's a different category.
They're all jigs.
They're all jig, yeah. But
it's like my brother's known for throwing a Texas rig something. I'm always throwing a jig of some sort.
Yeah, definitely be that. But I feel comfortable throwing all different kind of crankbaits, spinnerbaits, topwater, frogs. Just throw anything except for drop shot. I don't throw drop shot. If I'm throwing a drop shot, man, I'm in big trouble.
You're desperation time. Drop shot, shaky heads.
Shaky head, not selfish, a shaky head, and still saw some, or Nico rig. But if it gets all the way down to a drop shot, then yikes.
Now, again, since we're talking to a big audience that's kind of focused on knucklehead, everybody's trying to catch one big fish. We had Jonathan ask, how do you approach a big spot to figure out where the bigger ones are to catch them? So, it's one thing to get on fish just to get fish for a limit, but if you're focusing purely on a big fish or catching just big fish, which, you guys have to, generally, you're not looking for the 12 through 15-inch dinkers that you got to cull out. You're trying to catch, the 18s and up starting right out. So any strategy that you kind of look at, before? Is it like if you find one, more might be around, or how do you kind of approach just chasing big bass?
It depends on each situation's different, but I mean, generally speaking, if you're throwing bigger baits, bigger swim bait, you're definitely going to attract bigger fish. That's probably the easiest way to go about it. And then also realize that the big fish are more times than not, they'll come in like the spot within a spot. So if you have a big ledge or a break or something like that, and they're going to be on the biggest boulder on that ledge or the biggest tree or the best spot within that spot. They're always in that just absolute sweet spot, and just recognizing where those sweet spots are. Like I said, if you're fishing a ledge or a rock pile, something like that, and just knowing right where that current hits it, or right, the best ambush point on that. Same goes with, a lot of fish will be like main lake points where if you have a main lake point and like has close access to like the river channel or like really deep water, main lake points with deep water access, depending on the lake and how it lays out, and the season time. If it's spawning, it's different. Every time of year and season it's different. But I mean, generally speaking, if you find the spot within the spot, or if there's a point with deep water access or something like that, that's always a good way to. And you catch more big fish. I mean, you can catch a big fish way back up in a creek or something like that too, but more times than not, those really big ones are at least close to deep water access.
Now, so forward facing is like a big topic for a lot of people, in these days. But outside of that, I guess I advise a lot of people, because I got forward facing and I use it some, but it's not something I've invested a ton of time in learning, yet. Someday I will. I say that between editing videos and just going fishing, but a lot of people really, still seem to really smack them and do very well if they upgrade their standard Garmin Striker 4 with, water depth and temperature to like, good, decent side scan and down scan, and even some maps. If you were going to advise somebody, who is looking to upgrade Fish Finder, and I'm not talking about brands and things like that, but what kind of things would you advise somebody to kind of learn and focus on if they're trying to get used to using like side scan and down imaging for the first time, say their first, spring or summer with it? Because it seems to be, it comes into play because we can all look at topo maps and things like that too, but you can really reveal a lot under the water by running around a little bit and, looking at your side scanning down.
Yeah. And so the three major brands, Humminbird, Garmin, and Lowrance, I feel like each one of those companies at this point right now all have their kind of strengths and weaknesses. And I'm currently using a Humminbird. I got a Helix 7 on my Attack, and then on my Recon, I have a Helix 10 as well as a 9-inch Garmin, which the Garmin I solely use for the live scope. And for live scope, that's probably the best one for live scope. I have the old one with the older transducer, so I'm gonna going into next year I'll get the upgraded transducer and a 10-inch screen instead of the 9. But I've used my 9 with the older. That's somewhat affordable now at this point, and that'll be enough to get you by with the live scope. We're trying to go kind of the cheapest route to at least have basic live scope. That's a good way to start. If you're not doing the live scope thing and you're focused more on if you're focused on mapping, I truly believe the Lake Master chips with Humminbird has the best, most detailed mapping, and that's pretty important. It's really come in clutch for me, just having extremely accurate, mapping where you look down and on your map and you'll say it's in 10 feet, and sure enough, you're in 10 feet, and has 1 foot contour lines, and it really just shows like the shape of all the points and the ledges and exactly where the breaks are, and that's really important information, having that. And as far as side scan, they're all pretty good right now. I think Humminbird has some of the best side scan, but the Lowrance and the Garmin are also pretty good as well. Lowrance probably has the best 2D, from what I hear. Hummingbird's good enough for me for that, but here with 2D, Lowrance is probably the best. So it's just a matter of what you're really wanting. Ideal situations, you can run a couple of them. I think the bet, is running Humminbird for the mapping and the side scan, and then having a Garmin or something like that, or Lowrance for the forward facing. The Humminbird's forward facing. I mean, it works. I haven't used it personally, but just from people I've talked to, when it works, you can get by with it, but it's not as good as the Garmin and the Lowrance.
Yeah. Now, if you're like doing your planning and, I'd say scouting using your, computer, laptop, phone, whatever, are you playing with like the charts on the Humminbird One boat network, or do you have?
I need to do that. I have the app for that, and I have not done that. What I do though is I mark a lot of waypoints, especially now that I have this system. I mark a ton of waypoints. I mean, even every fish I catch, I mark a ton of waypoints, and I'll have them stored on a computer. It's another program that you download on your computer, and you can just manage all your waypoints on there. And I just separate them all into all the different lakes. I have folders for every lake. So when I get off, when I just got back from Gunnersville or whatever, I'll just get a chip and I'll take off all the waypoints off of the fish finder, put them on the computer, putting them in the Lake Gunnersville section, and it'll just add, like I took them up before I went to the Gunnersville tournament. I took them from the computer and I put them on my fish finder. It was only Lake Gunnersville. And then let's say I added 50 more. I'll still, put all those waypoints, the 400 that I had plus the 50 new ones, put it all on a chip, and it'll already recognize which ones that you already had saved. So it's not creating duplicates. It'll just keep adding on. I really like that. And there's a way you can do that with that One Boat Network and that app, and that's the right way to do it at this point. It's just I've done it this way.
That's something, I've got a Helix 10, and that's something I've got to learn over the winter. It's like,
that's
I when I joined the Old Town Pro staff, it's like, you get your boats, discounts and with Helix, Humminbird, Minn Kota. And it's like, okay, I moved from a Garmin to Humminbird. Now it's like I have this learning curve, but I'm a tech guy. I should be able to take the time to do all this too. But I do love how you can import and export. You
can get the satellite overlay
export pretty easily,
so you can look at all your waypoints on Google Earth satellite imagery too, which is really cool because then you can also mark waypoint. You can go through Google Earth and find a time where the lake's really low, and then you can actually create waypoints on your computer and then say, get the chip and then put it into your fish finder. So if water's down, you've seen a bunch of like logs or rock piles or whatever, you can mark it all on your computer. Put it on an SD card and then put it in. And then, if it's a new lake you've never been to, then you have, places to already go to. So
that does make it nice. I mean, do you feel like, well, I mean, I guess you've been fishing long enough and traveling around to a lot of these lakes too that really, except for like Duck Reservoir, I mean, most of the places you guys are fishing bigger tournaments at, it's pretty much going to be places you've been to before, and it's just every time you go back, you're building up a catalog of knowledge to add for future dates too. So
especially
that's got to be pretty
River.
slick.
There's a lot. Yeah, we go to Tennessee River a lot. Been to Caddo a few times and Sandy Cooper, and certain places it seems like are kind of the staples of the kayak fishing tournament. Up north it would be like La Crosse, the Mississippi River and La Crosse. But it's nice going to. I love going to new places.
Yeah.
I
was going to say, are there any lakes in the U.S. or lakes or rivers that you haven't been to yet? That's kind of on the bucket list.
think about it. I know there definitely are plenty. Maybe up north, like Lake Champlain or like St. John or the St. Lawrence River. Some of
Yeah.
that stuff. I've never been to the Northeast. I've never been to New York. The farthest up I've been is Pennsylvania. So all the rest of the states,
Okay.
that little corner there above Pennsylvania, I haven't been to. Got a buddy who spends a lot of time at the St. Lawrence River, and he, just showing me these videos of all these just giant, like a 5-pound smallmouth. There is no big deal at all. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's gotta be really cool. Do you find yourself being able to have time to just go fish for fun these days, or is it
No,
basically all work and then go to the tournaments when you can?
yeah, very seldom. I do have a buddy coming to town this evening. We're actually going to get a fun fish. I probably get a fun fish less than 10 days a year, I guess. I'd say.
Yeah.
I do a couple guide trips, maybe 5 guide trips a year, and then for the tournaments, I'll get there a few days early, and sometimes we'll have a few days. We did have a week or maybe 5 days before we had a tournament, and then I forget where it was at. Then 2 weeks later, we had a tournament up at the Mississippi River, and we had a week in between. I wasn't going to travel all the way down and all the way back up, so I got a week this year of just some fun fishing. But usually when I get back home, I have so many things. I'm gone for a month at a time, and I get back and there's just a million things, just either working on my truck or trying to knock out a few power washing jobs, and just doing some work on the house or yard work. It's just a lot always.
Yeah.
So
Now, do you have any more derbs this year, or is your season
just
pretty
one
much
more?
wrapped
Yeah,
up?
just a Hobie Championship, one more big one.
Oh, that's right.
On Lake Chickamauga, which that's where the Bassmaster Championship was this spring, and I was able to have a little luck on my side and won that one. And I'm really excited for Chickamauga coming up here. I'll be leaving for it. It's during the week, I think Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but I'll be leaving a week from Saturday. Yeah, so in like 9 days or so. I think that's the weekend you guys are having the Knucklehead tournament. Isn't this weekend, but the following weekend, correct?
The following weekend, yeah. Ours will be on Veterans Day that Saturday, the 11th.
Gotcha. So yeah, I'll be pre-fishing for that one, unfortunately.
Yep. Jeremy and I will be driving down. Well, Jeremy and I, Matt, and the crew will be driving back down to Guntersville next Tuesday.
Cool.
And we're just going to rinse and repeat what we did last time and hope to learn a little more and catch some bigger fish too.
It's fishing good right now for Tennessee River. I mean, fall time.
They should really start feeding up here before too long, is what I'm thinking.
Say it again.
I said I think that they should be feeding up really good here before too long as the water temps drop.
Yeah, should get even better. It's doing well though. Chickamauga is going to be way tougher. It's those lakes where they draw down, like Kentucky Lake or Pickwick, Chickamauga. Those ones are gonna be tough. But I wish I was going back to Gunners, but I was.
I mean, I was surprised there wasn't like a 23 or 24 caught, but you just
the Gunners they go in cycles, Gunnersville had a lot of those huge fish. Right when I moved out here about 10 years ago, there's a lot more of those like 8 to 10 pounders, mostly in the spring, but there was, but not near as many numbers. And I mean, right now it's doing really good. A few years ago, there was a lot of fish, but they were even smaller. It was hard to get fish over 20 inches at all. And now you're getting a little bit of both. There's good numbers, and you're still seeing some 20s and 21s. But like the really big ones are kind of few and far between. But within the next couple of years, Guntersville is going to be one of the top lakes in the country. It feels like. Anyways.
My PB on a catch board is 21 even. So if I catch a 21 and a quarter, you just call me the winner because I'm coming home smiling.
Yeah. Cool. Well, they're in there. That's for sure.
All right. Well, good, sir. I certainly appreciate you stopping by tonight and hanging out with us. Sorry, Jeremy couldn't be here. He's having internet problems, but
it's all good.
We got a lot of folks that's curious and wanted to hear a little bit about Guntersville and what you thought about it. And again, we wanted to congratulate you. And of course, we're all big fans of yours. And every time that you're on the water, you're definitely a threat to win. And it's honestly fun to see you guy who's so humble, so cool, and so easy to talk to. When you guys went to the dinner, did Casey Reed show you the video he made?
Yeah.
I was
yeah, we were all cracking
praying
up.
he would release that.
He did, yeah.
But I get it
was
too.
great.
But that was just hilarious.
Yeah, no, we had a good time at that dinner. It was a good group of guys. We had some good laughs, and it was a special moment for sure. Being able
Yeah,
to share that
it
with
had to be
everyone.
cool walking into like a tuxedo restaurant with a 12 or
Smelly
15 other
jersey. And,
rednecks
yeah,
blow
everybody's
everybody away.
gasping. We had to walk through the restaurant. Eventually, we went downstairs into like this wine cellar type place. Really nice. Was it Cotton Row, I believe, in Huntsville, Alabama? Super nice restaurant, great food, and but we had to walk through like all the people in their super fancy clothes. It's like a Michelin rated restaurant, and we're all smelling like fish with our jerseys on. I heard a couple old ladies like almost gasp and just say like, I'm pretty sure they thought it was atrocious.
Chad called me the next day and I was just rolling.
Yeah, it was funny, but yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'm really, Chad did a great job with the tournament, and I'm excited for the future of KBF, and I think obviously he's been through some issues, but he's pulling it all together, and it's really looking like things are going to turn around for the better next year.
It's going to be really cool, the stuff that he announces with like the state challenge series stuff and a lot of other things too. So yeah, he's back, he's regrouped and ready. 2024 will be even better, and just get it back because again, there's room in this industry for everything that we do for all different levels. Totally. And again, it's all about promoting the sport and having a good time while we're doing it. But brother, again, appreciate you coming by tonight, taking some time out of your day to holler at us, and good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Go ahead and knock that other one out too,
man.
Is.
Yeah, good luck at Gunnersville. Hope you get them.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right. See ya.
All right, everybody. One and only Rus Synders, man. It's awesome to be able to have guys like Rus come in and chit-chat with us. We're going to have Drew Gregory coming on in the future to talk about his new kayak adventure series. And it's going to be pretty awesome, too. But thank you, everybody, for popping in tonight. We'll let you get back to it and have a great day. And remember, always, get outside when you can and make some memories, one cast at a time.